And so last week I outlined for you the rough timeline, and I mentioned that we're going to take 3 steps as part of phase 2 of our ministry relaunch. That we're going to have a preparation step, which started last week. That we're going to have a trial step that we're going to try at some point in August. And then we're going to have a relaunch step in September and October. Well, let me explain now this morning in a little bit more detail of what these steps are going to look like. First, for our preparation step, during the month of July, as we walk this path back to resuming services, we seek to prepare as a whole church. And this preparation, it includes facility prep and training. Our staff and trustees are working hard together to set up the facility and gather all the supplies that we will need as we resume gathering. We've made a lot of headway on this, and it looks like we have all of the PPE and hand sanitizer that we're going to need to make this work. But we're also putting together a series of explanation videos where we talk about different precautions that we are taking and what things are going to look like when we do start coming back together. And I'll talk more about what that training is going to look like here in a minute. And we're also going to need to do this a substantial number of volunteers. And so we're going to be looking to recruit those volunteers and train and equip them during this month. We also are in this step, we're having congregational feedback. And I talked last week about a survey, and the survey is still available. You can find the link on the church website. We want to hear from you, and how are you processing COVID? How are you processing the idea of us relaunching and coming back together? That's going to stay open until the 13th, so if you have not done so, and many of you have, I encourage you to give the website a look, and I'd love to hear from you. And we also want to have some theological reflection, unpacking theological and biblical foundations for why we are gathering again, and the type of posture that we each want to take when we come back. And Pastor Lee and I are talking about, at the end of July, having a couple sermons of speaking to this issue. But then we'll also have our day of prayer and hopefully some devotionals and other thoughts along the way. But this morning at this time, let me lay out for you this equipping plan that I've talked about. At least how this looks like today, how we intend to move forward. And just so you know, a link to these videos is available on the church website, so you'll be able to find these videos as they're released. This last Thursday, I released a video describing how we have set up our sanctuary, how we're organizing the pews, and how each pew is going to be limited to one household or one cohort family. And I also encourage everyone to consider building a cohort with another household in the church. This coming week, I'm going to unpack what it's going to take from a volunteer perspective to make this happen, and outline the way that we're going to train our volunteers to make this sanctuary, this building, as safe of a place as we can. Then on July 16th, this is our day of prayer. I'm going to talk about our singing guidelines and give you a summary of the survey results. So to let you know, here's where Zion is at right now. And then this hopefully will help give you a broader picture of what other people are going through, help equip your prayers. It's going to provide some insight on your fellow Zioners, how they're feeling, and the implications for this for our ministry here at the church. And then on July 23rd, we're going to take some time to talk about our mask policy and some tips for how to wear a mask properly. We'll get a medical professional to do that. Don't worry, it's not going to be me. And we're also going to talk about accommodation, of how can we accommodate each other as we gather. And this will set the stage for how we will support one another when we gather. And then finally on July 30th, we're going to have a walkthrough video of what it's actually going to look like when you're here. So we'll have some people that they'll walk through the journey, the different steps, and you'll actually get a little foresight as to what it's going to be like when you arrive at the building, where you sanitize your hands, where you check in, all that sort of stuff. We'll talk about that the week of the 30th. So all that I've described is how we're intending to go about this preparation step. But beginning at some point in August, we actually want to try it. And so we're going to do a trial, a 3-week trial of Sunday services. For these services, we'll follow a variety of safety protocols, including hand sanitization and other PPE things. We'll maintain physical distance, and we'll refrain from singing at this point. And all of these things will be outlined during this preparation phase. And then, God willing, after the trial, a decision will be made whether or not we will continue with trial services, whether we'll pause and reassess, or determine whether or not to commit to gathering weekly and officially relaunch our Sunday services, completing phase 2 of our ministry relaunch. So this is the path that we have laid out before us, but if COVID has taught us anything these last months, it's that we need to be water, that we need to be fluid and ready to adapt to our ever-present realities. And so we will be fluid as things change, but this is how we intend to walk forward at this time. And why we need to be water is, we can think back to even a month or so ago, right when we were ready to resume our midweek gatherings, the government then had opened the door for Sunday services. And so we were just ready to act on their previous guidelines when they released a whole bunch of new ones. So who knows where we might find ourselves come August when we're finally ready to resume. My hope is that our province is in a place that we're able to loosen the guidelines further than what they currently are. But we'll approach that as it comes. But Zion, I think the words from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 to 6, they're timely for us today. And they're good words for us to live by as a church as we move forward. And I want to read those for you now. So Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways know him, and he will make your path straight. So Zion, let's trust in the Lord. Let's seek his wisdom in this season. And let's look for how he's going to make our path straight. If you have any questions about this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to connect with you and talk a little bit more. If you have ideas for things that we could do that can, in a physical distance setting, I'm all ears. So thank you for your continued prayers. Please continue to pray and join us as we walk this path back to Sunday services.